Ladies and gentlemen, and the various aliens of the TIE Corps, welcome to episode 5 of the TIE Pilot Podcast, where we discuss topics of relevance for all loyal Imperials. You may notice tonight I don't have my usual co-hosts. Commander Jack has Taekwondo right now and can't make it. So instead, I've invited my favorite third wheel and favorite turd, Colonel Antiel. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, what a welcome. Thank you, Zekk.
Many of you who have listened to our previous episodes know that we like to delve into the history of the TIE Corps a lot, about which I know literally nothing, having only joined in 2000. So we decided, why not start at the beginning with the person who founded the Emperor's Hammer. So, ladies and gentlemen, various aliens, allow me to introduce the founder of the Emperor's Hammer, Grand Admiral Ronin. Grand Admiral Ronin, thank you for joining us.
Salute. My pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
It's our pleasure. So I wanted to start a little bit with, we were founded in 1994, and I always operated under the assumption that you were just looking for other nerds to play TIE Fighter with. So how did this all even start, and how did it? I remember when I joined in 2000, there was several thousand members. So how did it come from you playing TIE Fighter to what it was when I joined in 2000?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. Back, early 90s, I had played a game called Wing Commander. You guys might have remembered it, the first one.
Oh, I love Wing Commander.
I got hooked on it. Then a couple years later, TIE Fighter came out. Being a fan of Star Wars, I saw the original episode. Well, it was the first one then, 12 times back in, 77 it was. I'd always been a fan. So when the TIE Fighter game came out, I jumped right in. And in the summer of 94, I finished the game. As you recall, it was a single-player game. I was like, well, this sucks. I wanted more. So I had a week off between Christmas and New Year's. And I'm sitting home in my fuzzy slipper and my sweats. And I'm like, I'm going to start a club. And I was an early member, early 90s on America Online. And there was a couple other Star Wars clubs, fan clubs mostly. There was another club that had just started with ours called the Rebel Squadrons. They're still around, by the way.
They pop into our Discord occasionally and just say hi and chat.
They were our sister club way back in the beginning. So that week, I spit out 3 newsletters using Microsoft Excel version 1.0 because it's the only thing I could edit with my crappy computer at the time. I don't know, Windows 95 or DOS. We're going way back. So I made 3 newsletters. I put them up in a forum so people could download on America Online. And much to my surprise, people kind of gobbled it up. And what I did is I created a fictional extension of TIE Fighter, the Imperial side of things, so to speak. And that included, an organizational structure and ranks and medals and ship names and a plot line underlying it. Those got published, I want to say it was January 9th, 95. And then every couple of weeks, every month thereafter, I spit out another newsletter. So the beginning of the Emperor's Hammer was really our newsletters. It kind of took off, and I'm like, how the heck do I organize this thing? So we're in the mid-90s, 95, 96, 97. It started growing, and I realized I couldn't run it by myself, so I created subgroups, if you guys recall the term. We had the Smugglers Guild, the Bounty Hunters Guild, the Fringe for Star Wars Galaxies. The TIE Corps was obviously the first one, Dark Brotherhood.
I actually joined, I was part of the Hammer's Fist when I first joined up, before I joined the TIE Corps.
The infantry, right, the Hammer's Fist.
Yeah.
And that, each group had its own manual, its own subgroup commander, some cases its own rank system. There was an ambassador corps. And before I knew it, in a couple of years, the club grew to 4,500 people. when we put out our first website. I want to say 97, 98 was our first website. But yeah, within a couple of years, it just grew. And I set it up based on the expanded universe, the RPG source books. There was an Imperial one. I don't remember, the Dark Jedi.
Was that the one from West End Games, I think?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the old D6 games.
Yeah, and the old role-playing games. And I used a lot of that information as the fictional skeleton structure. And you know what? The scary thing is it worked, at least for a few years. So that's how it started. It was kind of just, I want to keep playing. And, I got like-minded people together. Eventually enough people joined, some techie types who could crack the code in TIE Fighter. Before you knew it, we're the first club making custom missions. Came out with a cheesy editor in the beginning. Again, we had programmers, all graphics people, all sorts of people in the club. When you got 3,500, 4,000 people in your club, somebody's bound to be able to do anything. So we actually edited games, and we almost got a mention in, what was the next one? X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. We almost got a mention in that game for what we had done.
I remember when I initially joined just because I wanted the RP element, because I was a big Dungeons and Dragons player. And when I joined the TIE Corps, I didn't even know that you could make custom missions, and I saw all these several thousand custom missions and was absolutely blown away by it.
Yeah, again, it was kind of intended to create a fictional backdrop for people's stories and characters. I call it one of the first guilds. There's all these games now that are guilds. Emperor's Hammer was the first, if not one of the first, if not the first, quote-unquote, gaming guild out there. We had to make our own missions.
What were interactions like for pilots and officers before the games were actually multiplayer? Was it mostly just commenting on message boards or replying online?
Well, in the beginning, it was on America Online. There were forums and chat rooms and all that fun stuff. From AOL, we went to IRC, Internet Relay Chat, used MIRC. I understand there's still some people that do it.
Yeah, I guess Rapier sits in the channel and basically directs any old folks to the Discord now, but otherwise it's largely desolate now.
Yeah, but I mean, I got to tell you, for several years we ran meetings. I was looking on my computer earlier tonight. I've got all the old chat logs and the newsletters.
I remember, man, that channel was hopping. I mean, it would have several hundred people on at any time talking.
And, obviously people tried to make trouble, and I was a bit of a smart ass back then, so I didn't put up with much. But it was kind of run like the Empire would run an organization. It was a little bit dictatorial, looking back at my older, wiser years. I was a bit of a jerk, but I was protecting the club. That was always my interest. So, if there's any politics or drama that came up, I had to kind of squelch it fast. And then the funny thing is, guilds do the same thing today. They just boot people, or block them. But anyway, so that's how it kind of started.
I had sort of a curious question that I had thought of last night. I remember reading that the EH was incorporated in the state of New Jersey. It still is, and yeah, there's like a board of directors and all that good stuff.
Yep, there's a reason for that.
That was my next question. What are the reasons and the benefits of doing that?
Do you remember a character by the name of Dark Knight?
Sounds familiar. I'm not
he
sure
was
why
a real pain in the, he didn't like the club, didn't like me, never met me, but just for some reason, he's one of those hater spoiler types. And he actually, personally, harassed me, tried to send porn magazine subscriptions to me, leaving, dirty messages for my wife. the voicemail machine.
How come I don't get free porn subscriptions? This is
Yeah, right.
fun.
Well, the problem was I had just gotten married. So back in the early 2000, I want to say 99, well, maybe 2001, 2004-ish time frame, we started realizing there was not friendly people in the world. So we decided to trademark our logo and the website address. So the logo you see on the main website is actually trademarked with the U.S. Patent Office. Also, we decided to incorporate. And this was when Astatine kind of joined forces with Dark Knight, basically took our old Tycor database. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, when that was like 2008? No.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. So Dark Knight was bugging me for a couple of years. Then Astatine kind of went nuts and told Dark Knight he would work with him to take me down, quote unquote. I'm telling you, these were crazy times. So we decided that, look, we better incorporate trademarks so nobody can take the club, take the name, take the website, etc. So we did that, and we actually meet. Me and Rapier, Havoc, Maverick, a couple other folks meet every fall about this time of year to discuss the business of the club. It's an official nonprofit registered in the state of New Jersey. You can't get taxed.
Dark Knight, is that NYTE?
Correct.
Okay, he sounds very, very familiar, but I can't place it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a crazy time, but look, we held the club together. You know, Terrik, I don't know if you guys remember Fleet Admiral Terrik.
I do. I remember him from when I was in the first time, and then I went overseas for a while, and when I came back, I saw Astatine was in charge. I couldn't stand Astatine for my first time, so I was like, no, I'm good. I'll just opt out of this, I think.
Well, the funny thing is, Zekk, I talk to some of these guys on the phone. I never met any of them, but I talk, and you think you kind of know somebody, but you never really do. So we just put protections in place. But Terrik is a cop down in South Jersey. So I actually talked to him on the phone. I just caught up with him a couple of weeks ago. He kind of helped me navigate, go file the police report. And we had another guy who was a lawyer, said, yeah, you should incorporate. Spent a couple $100, got a trademark, got incorporated. So I maintain those just on the off chance someone tries to take it.
Wow, I didn't know there was so much behind-the-scenes legal work going on with the EH.
Yeah, I've spent a couple $1,000 in legal fees over the years. I'm about to renew my 5-year. Every 5 years, you got to renew a trademark. I got to get the next one done by the 26th of this month.
You couldn't have just had them executed or thrown in the airlock or something?
Pardon?
You couldn't have just had them executed or thrown in the airlock or something much simpler?
Okay.
Your Grand Admiral powers?
You could do that in a fictional sense. There was a guy, and I forgot his name off the top of my head, Strife, Stryyfe or YFFE. I forgot how you spell it. He was a computer programming whiz in Texas, I believe. And he's actually, Calvi, is Robert Calvi or Steve Calvi? He actually helped migrate over the Tycor database and get it back before Astatine could take it forever. So really, the genesis of the legal work was just to protect the club, so someone could never steal it.
Well, it's almost like the real life drama is almost catching up with the fiction. It's very, very dramatic.
It is, and it was funny. I had a good friend of mine. I won't tell you his last name. He's passed away several years ago. His name was Joe. He's an older guy. And I can't tell you how many times we'd be on the phone. We just BS. I was a single guy, partying, not doing anything productive. So, after work, we'd shoot the crap, and I'd tell him about the club and, what's going on. And he always remarked, he said, it's just like the movies. There's always drama. So, yeah, it was fun times. Since I've kind of gotten out of it, things have quieted down. I just poke around, go to the trustees meetings now, egg rapier on to, get a better website.
Well, I don't know if you were aware, but they are currently designing a new website and database.
Yep, I heard. It's painfully slow in the trustees meetings. I think we've been talking about that for 5 years, 6 years. So I hope it comes to fruition. I'd love to see the club thrive again.
Well, you know what? It is growing since Squadrons joined, and a little bit before Squadrons joined, it's been growing exponentially to where we're up to. Sorry, I think you can hear my kids in the background there.
That's all good, man. It's pandemic. Everyone's got kids with
yeah.
Permanent bring your daughter to work day.
You know what? My 6-year-old is a member too.
Oh, God bless you.
He got in because he's a legacy. But
Gotcha.
yeah, we're up to 3 ships and 12 squadrons, all of which are full or nearly full.
Squadrons are still set out in groups of, 12?
Yeah, three flights of 4 pilots.
Yep.
I wanted to ask about that, Grand Admiral. Yep. Is that structure something that you developed on your own, or was that from one of the source books that you were talking about?
Imperial source book. Imperial source book. Yep.
Excellent. Very cool.
So I tried to. That's a good question. I tried to stay true to the lore as written in those source books. It was the only thing we had at the time, and I remember many nights hand typing sections.
Unfortunately, the mouse nuked a lot of our lore. So,
who did? I'm sorry.
Mickey Mouse, Disney nuked a lot of the lore that we were using.
Well, I ignore Disney. I just do what I want.
Yeah, that's basically what we're doing too.
Good for you. Keep up the good work.
Speaking of legends, maybe you don't want to comment on this question, but I had to ask. I was reading through the newsletters and I saw mention of a character in the novel Children of the Jedi called Ronin, and there was someone named Wildcard who was speculating that Ronin, Garonnin, was a reference to G.A. Ronin.
And what book was that? Because I have a different one. But what book was that?
The newsletter was referring to Children of the Jedi, but any comments on that, I'd be interested to hear.
Well, what I remember, and I actually have a little Post-it note that I probably kept for 12, 14 years. Aaron Alston was the author. New Jedi Order series, Enemy Lines 2, Rebel Stand. There is, and we actually interviewed on IRC in an email interview, Mr. Alston, and tried to pin him down. There is a reference in that book, and I haven't dug that deep in my computer files, but I'm sure someone can find it if they have the book. There's reference to an Outer Rim warlord, Ronin, running a group called the Emperor's Hammer. He would never admit that it was us, but I think we all know it was.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds pretty clear.
Yeah. I think that was pretty cool. Kind of came out of the blue.
You know what? You mentioning Aaron Alston reminded me of something. I remember when I first joined the EH, there was a ton of honorary members. Like I think I remember Anthony Daniels, Frank Oz, Peter Mayhew.
I got a list here if you need them. But yeah, Mike Stackpole, Peter Mayhew. Who was the guy that played Wicket? Warwick Davis.
Yeah, Warwick Davis. Yeah.
Let's see, I mentioned Stagpole.
The guy who played Jared was too.
Pardon?
The guy who played Moff Jared. Can't remember his name.
Oh, hold on. David Prowse we had.
Yeah.
Cunningham. Who is this guy? Elaine Cunningham, another author. Here it is.
Michael Pennington.
Yep, and then here's another one. The guy who played Admiral Mahdi, Richard Leparmentier. He was another interviewee.
Yeah.
Let's see, who else did we? The gal that played Aura Singh, Greg Bear, the actress who played Aunt Beru gave us a nice signature at a convention. What was it? She played the younger version. What's that?
in the
Episode
prequels?
3, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony Daniels, like you mentioned, Bill Smith.
So I was going to ask, how did you get the attention of all these people and bring them in for interviews?
Well, when you're a club of 3,500, 4,500 people, guess what? People start taking notice. I actually, when the episode 1, Phantom Menace, came out, I actually had someone from some newspaper in the Midwest call me up to ask me questions. I mean, just random stuff.
Wow, that's wild. I can't even imagine that.
I got it, and I know, Zekk, I mentioned this to you in a text when we were arranging this, but here's one that's going to kind of blow your mind. You guys remember the original Battlestar Galactica?
Very vaguely, yes.
In the 80s, okay? There's a guy by the name of Richard Hatch, not of Survivor fame. He was the actor who played Apollo. And back in July, I'm looking at the files now, July 99, his wife, Sophie, actually got in touch with me because they wanted publicity for Battlestar Galactica Revival. Now, this is before Sci-Fi Channel, you know, all the other ones. I think it was...
That's crazy.
And then his wife called me up and said, "Here's Richard." I'm like,
Wow.
Okay, you were with all those. What was Jane Seymour was the actress he kissed in one of the episodes? I'm like, dude, you kissed Jane Seymour. You're my hero. He was telling me about Dirk Benedict, the guy that played Starbuck. He was also in the A-Team, if you remember.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dirk Benedict, at the time, this was 99, had throat cancer or something, so it was kind of a sad story he was telling me. But yeah, Richard Hatch was trying to get the Emperor's Hammer to support or publicize the revival, because Richard Hatch always fought with, who's the guy, Larson, that came out with all those cheesy sci-fi shows like Buck Rogers and Battlestar Galactica. He came out with a lot of these shows.
I think Glenn Larson?
Yeah, him and Richard Hatch never saw eye to eye on who owned the Battlestar Galactica franchise. And I'll tell you right now, legally it wasn't Richard Hatch, but he was the star actor, right? So he's trying to get a revival going, and Glenn Larson is not biting. So he's trying to get people, you know, just through public opinion. You know, we didn't have petition.org back then, but he wanted to get some publicity out there, spark some interest. So he came to us. We put a little banner on our website, a little picture of the Battlestar on it. You could click the link and go to his website. If you go way back archives, back probably July, October 99, you probably could find it. So it was interesting. He has since passed away, unfortunately.
So another question that I had was, you were talking about how we're up to, at the peak, you were up to about 3,000 to 4,000 members.
Yeah, I think it was about 4,500 was our max.
Now,
we didn't stay there long, but it was about 4,500.
In the Thai Court now, I'm just winging it, but I'd say there's probably roughly 125 to 150 total members. And I remember when I was in the Thai Court in 2000, there were people on the same ship as me. I was on the Sovereign. There were people on the same ship as me that I didn't even know.
Sovereign had a lot of squadrons.
Yeah, it was. I basically know everybody in the Thai Court now, more or less. But I was on Wing 2 of the Sovereign, which had 6 wings, I want to say, or 7. And then the Commodore was basically, he was a Commodore, but he might as well have been a battle group commander because he was in charge of 6 wings. But I would literally never speak to my Commodore, and now I speak to my Commodore almost every day. Chat with Rapier here and there. The Thai Corps commander I never spoke to. Now I chat with Pliff every now and then. So what were and I never had anything to do with, I was probably small TIE fighter-sized blip on your radar. But I never had anything to do with the fleet commander whatsoever. But what
Go ahead. What's your question?
what duties did you have as fleet commander? Because I didn't quite see them, or maybe it was a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff.
Well, it's the thing is everything kind of went out in the newsletters. So that was kind of our core up to, let me see, I want to say 111, 121 some odd newsletters. And then we drifted away from them because they were just a pain to produce. But the duties, the way I structured this was the way it was laid out in the source books. And I always told people, my friends, people in the club, I said, it just worked. So when I say I had a meeting with the subgroup commanders, or I sent an email to them asking them to do something, they would all filter down through the layers of command. It ran like a military organization online. It was the weirdest, creepiest thing I've ever seen, but it was really cool.
Oh man, I feel like I had another question and I can't remember it anymore. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, you alluded to this a little bit, but I guess I'm just curious, how closely do you follow the Emperor's Hammer and the TIE Corps today?
Well, I got to be honest with you. Since my quote-unquote retirement, even though I'm kind of flitting about, I don't get much in the day-to-day. All the medals are a little hazy. Some of the memory, things are going into memory now. But I'm still I'm listed as owner of the corporation, so to speak. But I let Rapier do what he wants. I don't bug him. I trust him implicitly. So not too much now. Honestly, I'm playing a couple other games. I'm not in any guilds. I solo, MMO games. I play some other ones, but I don't tend to get too involved. Well, again, we have the annual trustees meetings where we kind of set out goals for the year. And I think those meetings are posted on the message board somewhere. But other than that, no, I don't get too involved. I was hoping with Squadrons it'd be much more of a revival, but I'm not sure it will be. The game seems limited.
So you have, that was my next question. Have you played it yet?
Yeah, I played this. Unfortunately, I have an older computer, an old Digital Storm online computer, which I love. It's still running great. But I got it probably 8-9 years ago. So I've got a GeForce GTX 660. And I think you need the 700 series for the minimum. So I can play all the single player missions. I get to the last one and the computer just dies, locks up on me. I'm like, really?
You're not missing anything. So the storyline was very predictable.
I kind of figured that. So I haven't jumped into the online, the multiplayer yet. But I understand it's only 5 versus 5.
Yeah, and there's fleet battles too where they also throw AI in and stuff like that for you to fight with.
How many? But it's still a limited number of human beings playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need a game, and I'll tell you something. There are still. I mean, you guys obviously still play TIE Fighter and whatnot, X-Wing Alliance or X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, whatever.
Absolutely.
But there are I don't know if you know this, but the Star Wars Galaxies game, the emulators that are out, there's a couple that actually still have the space combat. You could launch 50 people in the air. The computer may bog down a little, but it's one of the only places I've seen where you could actually have a lot of people at the same time, which I'm surprised. I mean, you get a lot of these online games now, and you can get hundreds of people in guild wars and clan wars, but they can't seem to make a simulator where you can put a couple hundred people in the air. So I hope either Electronic Arts, LucasArts, somebody kind of advances this concept and revives it, because there's a big component of people out there that like the Star Wars flight sims, and it lends it between the rebels and the Imperials. It lends itself well to that. So,
hey, you know what? You'll appreciate this. Some of our guys were playing Squadrons the other day, and everybody has their EH clan tags up. And I guess they had beat the crap out of some poor team and left to join a new game, and the same team showed up again. And they could hear on the voice chat, "Oh, man, it's those EH guys. Do you guys want to back out? Let's get out of here." I don't think it's the spiritual successor to TIE Fighter or whatever that we all wanted, but it's still fun.
Oh, that kid sounds cute. Yeah, I find it lacking. For lack of a better judgment. I got to try the multiplayer, but 5 versus 5. I mean, even in MechWarrior Online, which I have a sister guild there, but it's probably, I don't know, 300-400 people. You can still put out a squadron of 12 mechs. 12 players versus 12. And I don't know why EA couldn't do that. So, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah. Hey, Grand Admiral, my son, Lieutenant Commander Firebreaker, is here, and he would like to say hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
How are you, little man?
Hi, I'm doing good. I'm good.
So what's your favorite ship?
Say again, sir?
What was his favorite ship?
What's your favorite ship? No, say it.
TIE Bomber. It's really good. Hi. Hi, brother.
Okay, they crashed our podcast here.
I didn't get the favorite ship yet. What was it?
Say your favorite ship louder.
The TIE Bomber, because of its really strong arm, because it's really strong and has some good missiles. I'm the X-Wing. Here's the X-Wing.
Aw. Zach, you are training them well.
You know what? He's really close to getting promoted to commander. I think he's got to get one more medal or something.
Yeah, I think it's one more medal.
Pretty soon.
Yeah.
And one thing you should remember, the Emperor's Hammer never discriminated on age. We've had members very young up to from preteens, 5, 8, 10, 12 years old up to 60s. So that's one good thing about the club is it's not age dependent, it's maturity dependent. Can you handle being in the organization?
Yeah, I remember I was I think 15 when I first became a commander of, I think it was Pi Squadron on the Colossus.
Yeah.
But I actually asked, he when I rejoined last year, he was watching me do EH stuff, like making uniforms or whatever, and he thought it looked really cool. So I was like, I seem to remember there being a bylaw that you can't join unless you're a certain age. So I asked Pete Mitchell when he was the TIE Corps commander at the time. And I guess he asked Rapier, and they're like, yeah, it's fine as long as he stays under your command. So he's in my squadron.
Cool. Well, I don't know if you guys remember back in, between 2001, 2004, we used to have to get parental consent. There was some sort of digital safety act or something. It started in Europe.
13 or...
Yeah, if you were under 13, you had to get a parental consent. I'm looking at probably about 50 of them on my computer right now. So people actually got their parents or forged it to send an email and said it was okay. So we've always had younger players. That's awesome. Because when these kids grow up, Zach, they're going to be interviewing you.
No kidding. Hey, he has a question for you. Go ahead, son.
What's your favorite ship?
My favorite ship?
Yeah.
TIE Defender.
Hey, that's mine too. Yeah.
You can fly a TIE Defender like a king.
Yeah, I was pretty good at it.
The ship I can fly where the crab for some reason.
That's great.
Alrighty, well, I believe that's all the questions I have. If you have any more?
No, this has been fantastic. Thanks for sitting with us and taking our questions.
No, anytime, guys. I every day I'm astounded at how far this club has come, and now it's more of a tighter knit group, I think. But I marvel at it, and it was something I created on a lark just because I kept wanting to play in the game.
You know what? I did have one more question. In our last episode, we interviewed Colonel Doyon. from Quebec who spoke at length about how the Emperor's Hammer helped him learn English because he was a native French speaker.
I listened to that at your suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah, he specifically thanked you. Did you have anything? I'm sure he's going to listen to it. Did you want to say anything to him?
I am touched. I am honored. I am glad it helped him out. I don't know if you guys are aware, we've had people who've gotten married back in the late 90s that met as members. We've had real life meetings. It was mostly in Poland and Germany at the time.
My wing commander came to my high school graduation.
People are making friends, just being in the club and meeting in reality. So I'm not surprised your last guest learned English. I used to get that quite a bit in the early days. There was probably a half dozen people that told me, just being in the Emperor's Hammer, either they matured a little bit, they were troubled kids, they found some purpose in their life. All right, it's online, it's a game, but it kind of squared them away a little bit. And again, people met offline. I don't know if you guys remember Admiral Mel, M-E-L-L.
Is that Mel Kerrigan?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Is it Mel Kerrigan?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? He actually just rejoined the Taekwondo.
All right, you got to do me a favor. Tell him to get in contact with me. Give him my email.
Okay, you got it. Yeah, I'll make sure he listens to this too.
Yeah, that's cool.
He actually got an Imperial logo tattooed on his arm. I mean, the guy but he used to organize these meets. I don't know if it was in Germany or England or Poland, but it was in Northern Europe. And it just amazed me, guys, how much these guys, and again, this is, 15, 20 years ago, would meet up offline and just have a blast. There were pictures and, people talking about the event on the message boards or the forums. I ran into Mel in what game was it? Age of Conan. I ran into him. I saw a guy named Mel, and he saw my character's name. We're like, no way!
Wow, small world.
Yep.
He's a neat guy. So give him my best if you talk to him.
You got it. Yeah, actually, I ended up recruiting a couple people I went to high school with. There was like 3 or 4 people in my high school class who were also Thai Corps members. I don't think they ever got past Lieutenant Commander.
Hey,
yeah, all over the place.
They may rejoin in 10 years, Who knows?
All righty. Well, do you have any more questions?
No, that's it for me. Thanks again.
Great, Admiral. Do you have any for us?
Well, let me ask you a question from as current members. How do you guys see the club?
I'll let you go first while I think about it. Hang on.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I was playing TIE Fighter when it came out, in 95, but I didn't find the club until 2014. So there's a part of me that is absolutely kicking myself that I could have been, online and talking with like-minded people all over the world who were geeking out about this game. Because I definitely kind of felt like a kind of outsider because I didn't know anybody else who was playing this game. But that being said, finding this club as an adult and meeting people from all over the world in different ages, it's just like you said, it's a really cool opportunity to connect with people and Zekk would call it geek out, I guess. But I've made meaningful connections. It's really interesting. I just wanted medals and to get promoted. I never thought I was going to, meet people in real life. I've met, I think, 3 different Thai Corps members. We've met up, grabbed a drink, talked. It's been awesome. So, on one hand, it's just a fun way to tell stories, and pretend and extend on my favorite game, kind of like it was in the beginning. But man, it's also been a way to connect with real people, and I really appreciate that.
What's interesting, over 26 some odd years, the club, I have yet to meet one person in real life from the Emperor's Hammer. I used to work with a guy, he was a division manager. I'm an environmental consultant, a geologist by trade. And I used to work with a guy, and I told him about the club, and he said, how many people in it? At the time, it was like 4,300. He's like, you've assembled 4,300 people you've never met. I said, yep. He said, that's amazing.
Sounds like we need to make a road trip, Have.
Yeah, we do.
I always say, my job at the time was to build the Emperor's Hand, the skeleton, and let the members flesh it out. And I think to this day, they're still fleshing it out, which is really cool.
I like that. That's awesome.
I thought about it, and I rejoined last year after being gone for 16 years. It's very, very different from when it was at its peak of 4,500 people or whatever it is, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just took me a lot of time to get used to, and like Have said, I had definitely formed some. I need a cough button there. Sorry. Some meaningful connections, certainly, and now we have a whole new group of people that I've grabbed off of Reddit, or they found us through getting the crap beat out of them by us in squadrons, and they've joined us. Or there's a whole new generation of people.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen when I go into squadrons with the name G.A. Ronin?
They may not even know who you are.
Yeah, or they'll quit as soon as they see because they think you're going to.
What's your EH clan tag?
I'm a pilot. I'm fair, but that's funny. So what did you think, Zach? What's your impression of the club these days?
Oh, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
What's your impression of the club these days, your perception?
I think once I got used to it, it's really used to it not being full of 4,500 people. It's sorry, I thought he was going to cough again. Oh, there he goes. It's really, really fun. It still has that same vibe. It still has that same RP vibe, and there's still a lot of cool people in it. Even people I still remember, like Rapier, and I remember Cliff.
That's great. What? I'm sorry, I got to ask. What was your son's call sign again?
Firebreaker Terrik. I don't even. How did you pick that name? I don't even know.
I don't know. I remember because he breaks fire. He's a Wookiee and he breaks fire every time he steps, and it just flashes apart.
So
He's Lieutenant Commander.
Hold on, I'm actually gonna write this down so I don't mess it up. So it's LCM Firebreaker.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat here so you can see it.
I have
on my phone. That's good. And your other child, what was that? What was the other name?
He is not in the EH, but his name is Philip.
Okay. So I'm going to say this. Lieutenant Commander Firebreaker, best of luck, good hunting, and salute.
Salute. Oh, your right hand, son. There you go.
And by the way, I have like a ton of Imperial security medals.
He does. He's got like 6 or 7 ISMs right now, I think.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I am so glad your kids are into the game. Philip
isn't in the.
That's cool.
Philip's not in the EH. He's only 4 years old. He's not in the EH.
Yeah, he will be.
Trade, yeah. He's got dual training, yeah.
All right, well, hey, I appreciate you joining us. Hope we can do it again.
You know how to get a hold of me. Text or email.
You got it, brother. Thank you for joining us. Have anything else to add?
No, just thanks again. This was excellent.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was a lot of fun.
All right, so what we always do at the end of the podcast is we recap EH news here and there. It's been roughly 3 weeks to a month since we recorded the last one. But hey, did anything significant happen? Did we kick the crap out of a couple ships? Do you remember?
I want to say we had raised the flag. I remember that, and I think. Oh yeah, it was the Warrior that won.
Yes, we kicked the crap out of the other 2 ships. So I would like to just heap scorn and shame upon the Hammer in the challenge. Congratulations to General Pickled Yoda, who won the competition in its entirety, and to those scrubs in Row Squadron who finished in first place.
You got to give credit to their handsome and yet humble commander.
Yes, good job, Cliff. Excellent work.
Hey,
Today we also saw Commander, I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, Bayet Dekal take over Epsilon Squadron.
and the reopening of Kappa Squadron.
I want to tell
Hang on.
something.
Coming back, kids. Coming back.
Oh, and by the way, I sent in stuff for Raise the Flag in case you haven't seen.
Oh, yeah, I actually did attach your drawings to not the last report, but the one before that.
Okay.
Let's see, yes, Kappa came back, so congratulations to Captain Sparky.
Yay!
I feel like we're missing something here. But did we execute anybody today? Anybody in the airlock? No, I think that's... Oh, yeah, hey, Ace TIE Pilot got promoted to Commander. Congratulations to him.
Mm-hmm. Well deserved.
Yeah, he's a beast, man. He's a hard charger. Oh, Robert Hogan, also promoted to Lieutenant Commander, my executive officer, who managed to get a Bronze Star in like 2.5 weeks, which I think is pretty incredible. I can't do that in 2 months.
So this was a good week for XOs getting promoted.
I think so, too. Well, yeah, I think that's a wrap. And thanks for listening, everybody.
Boop!
Bye-bye.
Boop!
Good hunting.